you often hear the thing, oh well, the strongest and most aggressive animal will survive. Well, what could be more strong and aggressive in the sense of co-opting one animal to be the host of another? That is extremely aggressive. But generally, all of those animals are singular creatures that are primitive, and parasitic wasps have not yet developed sort of even a sort of insect society. They're not really going to be challenging human beings, are they? There is a sort of sense of different aptness to a different role, but generally humans have more roles than parasitic wasps, I would say. We're more generalists, so we could say and be egotistic about our own evolution, say we're more developed than wasps. I think that's pretty well established. Otherwise I won't be able to make this video. But there was another key factor where plants adapted to a different situation, and that was the advent of grass. Seeds of grass started to coalesce in areas where the climate had decreased the ability of forests to, and competition between grassland and forest had diminished, But generally speaking, what flowering plants did set the trend, yeah. Which you could call it a meme, but it's a genetic system that had been set up of which was different trades in energy, and it favoured those animals, and all the other animals and plants adapted to grassland. Why? Well, skipping past the age of the dinosaurs and the mass extinction and everything else, very rapidly occurs is that the mammals fill all the different roles that dinosaurs in general vacated, apart from the ones that were unobtainable, which was dominated mostly in terms of those dinosaurs that were able to fly and develop feathers and became birds. And so birds went on to sort of a different branch of different niches. And of course there are societies that are based avian societies, bird societies. I'm not talking about people who watch birds. I'm talking about actual bird societies. But mammals, particularly primates, developed symbiosis with plants because plants started to develop something that was more than just a flower with a short-term bribe, but a long-term co-opting of mammals. How could we, the primates, who can make computers and are developing fusion power and understanding whether the Big Bang was a Big Bang or a Big Bounce, be co-opted by something so simple as a plant? Well, bribes. The ovary of a plant, when the plants developed sperm, and also flowering plants developed both sperm and a sort of basically the plant version of yolk, to develop in the ovary of a plant, and that basically set the structure for what would become fruit. And of course, primates were, even today, some of their diet is 90% fruit, and they needed to have colour vision because plants developed tells like smell, texture, ripeness to advertise when the fruit was ready to be plucked, to be eaten, to transfer seeds to another area. Okay, and so because other things were going on, like with the development of deciduous trees, which would set the ground ready for their own progeny to plant, you know, by changing the composition of the soil through by shedding their leaves, creating new leaves and everything else in the higher latitudes. You know, like with apple trees are a good example of both developments. This injected even more calories into the system, and it was that injection of calories, just like with the start of the injection of calories via flowering plants, which allowed another level of social and individual intelligence to get to a higher level, you know? Because primates, whether they be monkeys, lemurs, or the great apes, of which we are a part of that group, the great apes, also had other things rather than just eating and reproducing to worry about. It's to worry about the upscale of competition with all these predators, which are just like in the dinosaur era, started to develop complex societies of their own. Now, if you look at the leopard, you know, there is a generalist. I mean, you've got leopards now in the heart of Nigerian cities, or in Malaysia, you know, Malaysia being like a second, or at least a second, or a first world society. You know, people walking along with iPhones, and there's a leopard in a tree, eating a stray dog. They will find niches anywhere, and just as chimps and the ancestors of chimps developed a taste for meat as well as fruits and leaves, you know, to both reduce competition, right, via monkeys and other things which would eat those fruits. They also were eating the monkeys themselves, particularly the males, so to get sort of a boost of calories, because to be a male in a developed society, animal society, or human society, is stressful, and so there has to be a payoff. And the payoff can't just be in preparation for the payoff of having more children than any other males that you're in competition with, or to give bribes via giving portions of animals to your allies within that society. Then you have to have the maximum amount of calories and nutrients you can to build the biggest, strongest, most intelligent brain and body. You know, to convey your genes, to convey aptness to the opposite sex. And this is all going on. I mean, it's still going on. If people think that human evolution has stopped, I think that they're not having an empirical mindset. No, it's still going on. It's going on in a slightly different way, though. It's all to do with social higher intelligence, as I said. But as all those conditions were set, and all the available space within sort of the multi-tiered world of a sort of almost three-dimensional world of primate society in rainforests, with leopards and competition and animals on the ground which you have to worry about, that sort of three-dimensional concept of the world means that you have to adapt to many different climates within a very small geographic area, which gives you many tools for aptness. And it's not just the intelligence itself, sort of like it's not, to use a sort of theist idea of how the world developed, but sort of God playing with life to develop the best and brightest and most social animals. But I mean, evolution has developed that sort of system, whether for aptness, and so society has developed.